Okay, so I want to show you very clear evidence for John MacArthur's false teachings. There's one here that he's caught red-handed in, and he's not the only one who makes this mistake in their preaching. And most of them are the older preachers who have heard this all their life and is repeating it, even though they know it's wrong. I am 100% sure that MacArthur knows it's wrong. It could be that he interprets it according to this false interpretation also, but that's still wrong because the interpretation is wrong if you interpret it from the English, not knowing Greek. But MacArthur does know enough Greek to be able to look it up in the Greek and know what it says in the Greek. So let's go ahead and have a look at this. I want you to hear the preaching first. It's from a sermon of his, a recent one from the 24th September. It's called A Voice from Hell. Now don't go, and listening to him. He's got a lot of false teaching, errors and false teachings in his teachings. Some of them are more obvious, like this one, and some of them are far more subtle. And the more subtle ones are the more dangerous ones because they're about more serious issues. This is a serious issue too, but you'll see that this is not as big of an issue as the issue, for example, of being saved by faith alone. Okay? And in that, he has so many subtle errors in his teaching. So let's go ahead and have a listen to this. His Voice from Hell. He talks here about what happens to the devil and hell. Let's hope that I've got it loud enough.
Killed has authority to cast into hell. Yes, I tell you, fear him. That's God. God is the one who kills. God is the one who gives. God is the one who takes life. God is the one who casts into hell.
There we go.
Fear him. The devil doesn't cast people into hell. The devil himself is cast into hell. Revelation chapter 20 and verse 10, by God.
Revelation 20 verse 10, he says, the devil is cast into hell. Okay, let's have a look. I'm going to use the King James, so you can't accuse me of having mistranslated something, which it would have been the opposite. King James has mistranslated many things, and I have not mistranslated anything. And verse 10 says of Revelation 20, and the devil that deceived them was cast into, not hell, the lake of fire and brimstone, lake of burning sulfur, the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. And if we keep reading, we find in verse 14, only 4 verses later, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. It's the lake of fire and brimstone. How can the lake of fire and brimstone be hell if hell itself is cast into there? No. MacArthur is teaching false teaching. The devil is not cast into hell. He is never cast into hell. He's not cast into hell. He's cast into the lake of fire and brimstone. Now he's cast into the abyss also and locked. It's also called the bottomless pit. Not to be confused with the abyss which is in the ocean. The ocean is sometimes called the abyss. But this is the abyss with the smoke coming out of it, that he's locked in by an angel. Then he's released. And then after all that, and all that he does, all of his shenanigans, he then is, at the very end, cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever, without ceasing, without end, without pause. And it's not hell. So there you go. I've caught John MacArthur red-handed in a false teaching. It's not just a slip-up. No. Some theologians say, oh, the lake of fire and brimstone is hell. Well, it cannot be hell because of verse 14. Hell cannot be cast into itself. It says, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. That's after they gave up their dead. Because it says here in verse 13, and the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. And they were judged, every man according to their works, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. So death and hell themselves were cast into the place of punishment for the devil, the false prophet, and the beast, and all of those who were judged as wicked. So all of this gets cast into the lake of burning sulfur, the lake of fire and brimstone. That word for sulfur means it's godlike fire. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life, the Lamb's book of life, which is Jesus, whosoever was not found written in the book, including those that were blotted out of the book, it says so. It says that he will blot certain men's names out of the book of life. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire, along with the devil, the beast, the false prophet, the grave, which is death, death and hell, and all those who were not found written in the book of life. All of them cast into the lake of burning godlike fire. You don't want to be cast into it. You're going to be judged according to your works, it says right here, and they were judged every man according to their works. Be careful what you do in this life. What you do creates what you believe. Jesus said that. They hated the light because their deeds were evil. Their deeds weren't evil because they hated the light. They hated the light because their deeds were evil. And Jesus said, I am the light of the world. So they hated Jesus because their deeds were evil, because of what they did. You've got to be careful what you choose to do, because it builds up hatred for Jesus the more that you sin. And before you know it, that spark of love for Jesus has been put out. And you've given up. And you quit asking for forgiveness. And you blunt your conscience. And you go about your day not thinking one iota about Jesus. And 40, 50 years later, the lights go out. The voices stop. You don't know what's happened. And you're gone from this world. And your judgment happens. You're cast into hell. There is no exit sign. There's no way out. Fear God. Fear God. Fear what He can do to you after you die. May the Lord bless you as you seek Him with all your heart.